Nobody expected this in court, not a single soul. The gallery leaned in, anticipating something quiet and introspective, as Keanu Reeves stepped forward to testify. What they received instead was among the most quietly devastating moments of the trial. Keanu didn't cry, he didn't yell, but his words shook the courtroom to its core. Before we begin, viewer discretion is strongly advised. This content is strictly for entertainment and educational purposes only. This is the detailed courtroom testimony for the ongoing federal trial of Sean Diddy Combs, as reported by Inner City Press. Before we continue, comment below where you are watching from and the time you are watching the video. Thank you. What he revealed was not dramatic in tone, but deeply disturbing in content. According to Keanu, what Sean Diddy Combs offered him during a private dinner in 2014 couldn't be dismissed as a misunderstanding. It was real, and it had consequences. It wasn't business as usual, Keanu said plainly. It was something else, something I wasn't ready for. The invitation came while Keanu was filming in Los Angeles near the end of 2014. It wasn't from an agent or a studio, just a vague note. Private dinner. No agents, no press. Creatives only. The location, a private estate in the Malibu Hills. Curious but cautious, Keanu went. When he arrived, he immediately noticed something was off. No valet, no paparazzi, just a single guard who checked his ID and took his phone. No devices allowed, the man said. Inside, the space felt more like a stage than a home. Dozens of candles, ambient music from hidden speakers. Diddy stood alone at the head of a long table. He smiled, lifted a glass of wine, and welcomed Keanu with a strange phrase, "Delighted you succeeded." There was no staff, no assistants, just the two of them. The dinner began politely, but as the evening unfolded, Keanu said it felt more like a slow descent than a conversation, more like an induction than a meal. Then Diddy poured them each another glass and said, "Let's talk legacy." That's when the tone shifted completely. No discussion of movies or music, no scripts or projects. Diddy instead spoke in metaphors about elevation, about loyalty, about the need to leave behind old forms of validation. It wasn't about a role, Keanu said. It felt like he was recruiting me for something. When Keanu asked what kind of project this was, Diddy leaned forward. "This isn't about being seen," he said. "It's about being chosen. It's about what happens when no one's watching." Keanu, still trying to ground the conversation in reality, asked again if this was some kind of avant-garde film. Diddy didn't answer. Instead, he placed a black folder on the table. Keanu opened it. No scripts, no outlines, just a single printed page with 7 points, each more cryptic than the last. "Even when blind, trust the path. You will speak of this to no one. You will enter the sea and be made new. Do not question. If you seek money, leave. You must cleanse. Loyalty is forever." Keanu admitted that at first he thought it was part of some surreal method acting workshop, but the more Diddy spoke, the less theatrical it became. It felt deeply serious. He kept using words like rebirth, purification, and access, Keanu recalled. "At some point, I realized this wasn't a metaphor." When he asked if this was a film experiment, Diddy smiled. "You asked too many questions," he said. "That's why I invited you." Keanu paused. "My gut told me to walk away, but I also knew this was something I couldn't unsee." What happened next stunned the courtroom. Keanu testified that Diddy leaned forward, his voice lowering to something nearly hypnotic. "You'll need to bring this with you," Diddy said, placing a smooth black stone on the table. "The bath is prepared." At first, Keanu thought it was symbolic, maybe a spiritual metaphor. But what Diddy described next felt shockingly literal. "When you step into the water, you'll shed your past," Diddy told him. "The residue of me will cleanse you." The room gasped. Keanu didn't react dramatically. His voice remained calm, but the implications of what he said sank in fast. He said water holds memory, Keanu told the court. That's why it matters who you share it with. It wasn't just an idea. Diddy had a plan, an initiation, a ritual, a bath. Keanu sat frozen. He'd been through hundreds of strange meetings in Hollywood, had worked with directors known for experimental processes. But this was something different. He asked Diddy again, "Is this some kind of performance art?" Diddy didn't flinch. "You want scripts?" Diddy said. "I'm offering transformation." According to Keanu, what followed was the most disturbing detail of all. Diddy told him that if he truly wanted access, true success, he had to complete the ceremony. No one would know. There'd be no cameras, just one silent act that would mark the beginning of something bigger. He said those who completed the ritual never looked back, Keanu recalled, and those who didn't faded. Still stunned, Keanu stood up, thanked Diddy for dinner, and quietly walked out. But before he reached the door, Diddy called out, "You'll come back. They always do." Back in his car, Keanu found his phone, sealed in a small black envelope. Tucked inside was a business card. On it, gold-embossed letters read, "Loyalty is tested in water." He never replied. But he told the court that after that night, things began to change. Not in big, obvious ways, but subtly, slowly. He stopped getting calls for roles. Major projects he was already attached to fell apart. One by one, connections faded. Partnerships dissolved. No public drama, just silence. "I didn't want to believe it was connected," he said, "but everything started after the bath was mentioned. Then came the strange phone calls, always at the same hour, 3:17 a.m. At first, just silence, then a single inhale, then nothing. I thought it was a prank," Keanu said, "but it kept happening. 5 calls in 2 weeks, always blocked. Always the same." Then came the parked cars outside his home, the black packet left on his windshield. Inside it, a single parchment with a message. "Unfinished rituals have consequences." It was signed only with the letter S. Keanu said he never told the police. He wasn't sure what to report. Nothing illegal had happened. But everything felt wrong. He reached out to his longtime agent, who gave him cold advice. "If you didn't sign anything," the agent said, "and you didn't speak, forget it ever happened." But then, the agent added something chilling. "There are people out there who don't like hearing no, especially from someone they thought was one of them." Keanu tried to move on. He threw himself into an indie project, hoping the focus would help him shake the unease. It was a modest film with a solid story and dependable backers. The budget wasn't huge, but the cast was strong, and the interest was there. Then, just days before production was set to begin, the studio pulled out. The reason? Unforeseen funding complications. Keanu shrugged it off at first. Bad timing, he thought, but it happened again. A supporting role in a big franchise sequel, gone, no recasting, no explanation, just erased from the schedule. "I still wasn't connecting the dots," he admitted. "I figured it was just Hollywood being unpredictable." Until a director he respected, someone he had worked with before, approached him privately. "I don't know what you walked away from," the director said, "but whatever it was, it scared the right people." Keanu paused during his testimony, letting those words echo in the courtroom. "That's when I realized," he continued, "this wasn't about missing roles. It was about being quietly removed." He described how invitations stopped arriving. Phone calls ended. Emails went unanswered. He wasn't blacklisted, not publicly, but something darker was happening. A slow erasure. Then came an encounter at a black-tie charity event. The room was filled with the usual Hollywood elite, executives, actors, influencers. Keanu stood near the bar when a familiar face brushed past. It was a former co-star, someone he trusted. She leaned in and whispered, "You said no, didn't you?" He didn't answer, but she nodded anyway and walked off, leaving him rattled. Keanu testified that was the moment it all clicked. The dinner hadn't been a strange one-off. It had been a test, and he had failed. He told the jury, "It wasn't just about what I said, it was about the system I declined to join." Over the course of the trial, more witnesses described eerily similar experiences. Quiet offers, strange contracts, unexplained success, or sudden disappearance. Diddy's name surfaced again and again. Keanu said he started recognizing patterns. "There were musicians I saw rise out of nowhere, and actors who just vanished." The whispers came too. One actor, famous for early 2000s action films, allegedly clashed with Diddy's people, then disappeared from the industry. No announcements, no comeback. "He didn't play the game," Keanu said, "and he paid for it." He described the business as a maze of illusion, where directors, agents, and even producers were often just figureheads. The real power? Hidden, unnamed, watching. Then he shared one more unsettling moment. About 4 months after the infamous dinner, Keanu was removed from a charity campaign he helped organize. No public reason was given. Just a short email: the board has decided to move in a different direction. Later, he learned the campaign had received a large anonymous donation before the decision. And its new face? An actor tied closely to Diddy's circle. That's when it stopped feeling like coincidence, Keanu said. It felt like punishment. He described another project that ended just as abruptly, a meeting cut short by an executive's mysterious phone call. "We'll have to reschedule," the man said. They never spoke again. "It's not blacklisting," Keanu clarified in court. "It's something cleaner, something colder. Erasure." The courtroom grew eerily quiet as Keanu continued. Everyone could feel it. This was no longer just a testimony. It was a confession of survival inside a system that punished refusal and rewarded obedience. Keanu recalled that night at dinner when Diddy dropped names, not directly, but through veiled language. Instead of discussing deals or contracts, Diddy used phrases like "baptized in legacy" and "faithfulness earns access." He didn't name roles or productions, but Keanu understood what he was implying. "He spoke like a priest delivering gospel," Keanu told the court. And the message was clear. Loyalty isn't about talent, it's about surrender. Then came the most unsettling part. According to Keanu, Diddy referenced a young actor who had just been cast in a blockbuster superhero role. "You wonder why he got the suit?" Diddy had said. "He soaked for 2 minutes, that's why." The courtroom stirred. Jurors shifted uncomfortably. It wasn't just what Keanu said, it was how calmly he said it. "He meant the bath," Keanu explained. "He wasn't joking." Keanu refused to name all of those mentioned in that conversation, but he confirmed that some of the world's most recognizable faces came up. Diddy wasn't accusing anyone. He didn't need to. He implied just enough, and Keanu understood. "I didn't want to believe it at first, but when you watch the same names rise again and again while others vanish quietly, you start to see the pattern." He remembered watching one actor's rise with particular unease. "You could see the change," he said. "The energy, the rehearsed answers, the perfect timing. It didn't feel earned. It felt orchestrated." But that wasn't the end of it. Keanu testified that weeks later, after refusing to re-engage with Diddy, he received a second message, this time through a mutual contact. It simply said, "If you want to understand the system, come see the vault." His curiosity got the better of him. He agreed to meet, on neutral ground, he insisted. But instead, he was taken to a Beverly Hills penthouse, no windows, barely any furniture. The sound of faint machinery filled the space. Diddy met him there. And then, according to Keanu, he showed him what he called the insurance. A row of drawers, each labeled with a name. Big names, trusted names. "No need to open them," Diddy said. "Everyone has leverage, I just keep mine neat." Then came the moment that froze Keanu. If you had gone into the bath, Diddy told him, you'd have a drawer too. Keanu said he immediately understood. Those drawers weren't just symbolic. They held things, contracts, confidential files, possibly NDAs, and they were meant to bind. Diddy extended one final offer. "You don't even have to say a word," he said. "Just show up. We'll note your silence. That's enough." Keanu declined, firmly and respectfully. As the elevator doors shut behind him, Diddy whispered one last line, "Silence is loyalty." And Keanu never forgot it. As the courtroom listened, breath held in collective tension, Keanu's voice remained level, but the emotional undercurrent was unmistakable. "This wasn't just about Diddy," he said. "It was about how fear becomes currency, how silence becomes the contract you never signed." He admitted there were moments over the years when he wanted to speak, when rumors floated, when artists quietly faded from the spotlight, when whispers turned into patterns, but something always stopped him. Sometimes it was a friend saying, "Don't ruin your legacy." Sometimes it was the dread that no one would believe me. Then something shifted. Keanu described what finally made him accept the court subpoena. He spoke of sitting alone, late at night, watching testimony from another witness in the trial, someone describing rituals, contracts, and coded language. Their story mirrored his in frightening ways. He said hearing the timeline, the strange invitations, the silence that followed, it brought everything back. "It wasn't just about me anymore," Keanu said. He recalled one conversation in 2020 with an actor he had worked with before. After news of Diddy's first legal troubles broke, the actor reached out. He said he didn't participate willingly, but he'd seen too much to stay quiet. Keanu nodded. He said, "This is your chance. If you speak, I'll back you up." But Keanu deleted the message, not because he didn't believe him, but because he was afraid. Now sitting in the courtroom, he felt the weight of that decision. "This wasn't about revenge," Keanu told the judge. "This was about choosing clarity before I disappear from this business completely." By the time he finished, the room had changed. Diddy's defense team, once confident and composed, now looked shaken. The gallery was hushed. Even reporters had stopped typing. Each objection from Diddy's lawyers fell flat. The judge allowed the testimony to stand. One juror wiped away a tear. Another gripped their pen like it was the only anchor in the room. Then came Keanu's closing words. "I'm not here for sympathy," he said. "I'm here to say that sometimes the right thing to do is walk away, even when it costs you everything." He stood up, took one last look at the man who had changed the course of his life with a dinner invitation. "I'd rather fade quietly than be remembered for stepping in your water," Keanu said. Diddy sat still, jaw clenched, eyes down. The words hung in the air like smoke. A recess was called. Reporters flooded the hallway. Defense attorneys whispered, their confidence crumbling. Sketch artists scrambled to capture the moment. Because Keanu Reeves had done more than testify, he had verified every whisper that once lived in the shadows. Outside the courtroom, the world reacted instantly. Headlines exploded across screens. Keanu speaks out, A-list rituals confirmed. Reeves' testimony rocks Hollywood elites. Silence is loyalty, the phrase heard around the world. But inside, something more profound had occurred. A shift, a realization. That one of the most private men in the industry had stood up and quietly exposed something no one else dared name. Keanu didn't linger in the spotlight. He didn't speak to the press afterward. He offered no post-trial interviews or official statements. He said what he needed to say, one colleague commented. Now he's letting the echo do the rest. And the echo rang. In studio lots, production meetings, dressing rooms, and late-night sets. Among aspiring actors who'd once dreamed of being chosen. Among veterans who had suspected for years that something darker churned beneath the glamour. Because Keanu's story wasn't fiction. It wasn't internet gossip. It was detailed, credible, and deeply human. And though he didn't name names, he didn't need to. Everyone in the room felt the weight of the ones he didn't say. He confirmed what we all feared, a director whispered in an off-the-record podcast. That success isn't just earned, it's sometimes extracted. After the trial, investigators began requesting more interviews. Anonymous sources surfaced. Those who had once vanished began messaging old contacts again. Quietly, cautiously. And still, Keanu remained out of the conversation. Back home, he resumed a life out of the spotlight, but not before one last message, sent privately to a trusted journalist. "This was never about me. This was about what happens when someone says no and survives." The journalist published the quote without commentary. No headline, no spin, just the line. It went viral because people recognized something in those words. Truth, courage, consequence. The court record will show that Keanu Reeves testified under oath, but the industry will remember something far more lasting, that he refused to play the game, that he walked away from power cloaked in ritual, that when he was offered the world in exchange for silence, he chose to speak. And in doing so, he gave everyone else permission to remember what it means to stay human in a machine designed to erase you. As the final gavel fell, a simple truth remained. Some legends are made by what they do on screen. Others are made by what they refuse to do behind the curtain. And in the end, that refusal echoed louder than any performance. Stay tuned and subscribe to the channel if you want to stay updated on the Sean Diddy Combs trial. Also, share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.